In 1948, an American pilot looked down from his cockpit and saw children standing at the edge of an airfield in Berlin. They were not waving, they were waiting to see whether the next airplane carried flour, coal, medicine, or nothing at all. Because an entire city was being slowly strangled, and everyone involved understood something uncomfortable. If Berlin failed, freedom in Europe might fail with it. The Second World War had ended only a few years earlier, but peace in Europe was already feeling fragile. Germany had been divided into zones controlled by the victorious Allies. Berlin, deep inside Soviet-controlled territory, had been divided too, and in 1948, the Soviet Union decided to test the resolve of the West. Roads into West Berlin were blocked. Rail lines were shut down. Barges stopped moving. Food, fuel, medicine, electricity, everything the city needed to survive suddenly had nowhere to come from. More than 2 million people sat trapped inside West Berlin. Now, there were easier options. The United States could simply abandon the city. Some argued exactly for that. Others feared that trying to supply Berlin would provoke another war. After all, how do you feed an entire city without roads or railroads? The answer sounded impossible. You fly it in. Coal, milk, medicine, flour, every bit of it. American and British pilots began landing cargo planes into Berlin around the clock. One plane every few minutes, day and night, in fog, in snow, in dangerous crosswinds. The operation became known as the Berlin Airlift. Pilots called it the aluminum overcast because the sky never seemed empty anymore. And among those pilots was a man named Gale Halvorsen. One day, Halvorsen noticed children gathered behind a fence near the airport. What struck him was not that they were hungry, it's how quiet they were. No shouting, no begging, no fighting, just watching. Halvorsen spoke with them for quite a while and promised that the next day he would drop candy from his plane. The children asked, how would they know which plane was his? He told them he would wiggle the wings. The next day, little parachutes made from handkerchiefs floated down from the sky carrying chocolate and gum. Soon, other pilots joined in. Children began gathering near the airfields every day, watching the skies for planes rocking their wings. The newspapers called Halvorsen the Candy Bomber. Now, on paper, candy was insignificant. Chocolate does not stop communism. Gum does not break a blockade, but those parachutes carried something larger. They carried proof. Proof that the people on the other side of the wall had not been forgotten. The Soviet leadership believed Berlin would eventually surrender because human beings always surrender once conditions become difficult enough. But they misunderstood something. People can endure hardship when they believe they are still free. For nearly a year, the airlift continued. Pilots flew more than 275,000 flights. They delivered over 2 million tons of supplies. And on May 12, 1949, the Soviets lifted the blockade. Berlin had not surrendered. The city had survived because free nations choose persistence over retreat, and because ordinary people, from mechanics to pilots to children standing beside a fence, decide that intimidation would not be enough. History remembers the treaties and the speeches, but sometimes freedom survives because a pilot wiggles his wings, and children look up long enough to believe tomorrow might still come. And that's another story in freedom's long history.